Hello everyone, this is Professor Ror Matos in your grammar and composition class. Today we're seeing the video 3 in unit 3 about phrases. We are covering a short introduction on the verbal phrases and gerund phrases. Okay, the verbal phrases, we have verbal phrases of two types. They can be nouns and adjectives. They are of three types, sorry. Uh, We have the gerund phrases and infinitive phrases functioning as nouns, and we have the participial phrases functioning as adjectives. We have already covered a short introduction to the gerund phrases in the second video of this unit. But here we can see that in more detail. You can see how the gerund, which is the ing form, can take the function of a noun in different uh, contexts. All the different functions. You can see a gerund has a subject, a gerund has a direct object, an indirect object, uh, the object of a preposition, a predicate nominative, and even has a positive. Let's see the examples and explaining them a little bit. Training is essential. Training is a noun of an activity and is the subject of the sentence. My own enjoys golfing. Golfing is another activity, but here this noun is not the subject. It is the object of the verb because it says what my own enjoys. She enjoys golfing. So the action of the verb falls on that noun, golfing. Next, we should give communicating more attention. It's the same as saying we should give more attention to communicating. Communicating is the indirect object and attention is the direct object of the verb give. Remember that we have an indirect object. If in the sentence we have a direct object, we cannot have an indirect object without a direct object. Next example, do we get credit for trying? To analyze this one here, you need to see that trying is a noun that is part of a prepositional phrase. You see the preposition for, that's the first thing you do. You try to identify the preposition and then you see that after the preposition there's a noun. Let's not say right after because you need to know that the prepositional phrases, remember that, begin with a preposition and end with a noun, and for is the head of the preposition and trying is the object of the preposition. Okay? Next. His passion was sailing. Here we have a gerund has a predicate nominative where you can say that this is the same than this using the linking verb to be. I can say my favorite actor is Brad Pitt or Brad Pitt is my favorite actor. Both favorite actor and Brad Pitt for me is the same. So that's what we call a predicate nominative. If you have an adjective here, his passion was beautiful. For example, it's not a predicate nominative; it's a predicate uh, adjective, and you can have a predicate uh, adjective also with ing, but then it is an adjective, and then it is not a gerund. It is considered a present participle if we have it as an adjective. Remember that the gerund is never an adjective; it's only a noun. The gerund is never part of a verb phrase. It's not a verb. It's a noun. Always a noun. You see, all the functions here are functions for a noun. Okay, my favorite. Let's see next. My favorite sports, boxing and wrestling, require strength and agility. Both boxing and wrestling are naming my favorite sports, so they are considered gerunds has a positive. If I say my favorite actor, Brad Pitt, filmed a new movie, you can say that Brad Pitt is just naming my favorite actor. They are the same. Okay, good. Now let's move on into phrases. A gerund phrase contains a gerund plus any complements and modifiers. You see that the nouns, because the gerunds are nouns, the nouns can have modifiers like adjectives to identify them and so on. Climbing the mountains in this first example is uh, one subject, which noun is climbing, and the mountain is a modifier. It's modifying uh, what we are climbing. Okay, was a challenging activity. Challenging activity is a predicate adjective. Challenging here is not highlighted because it's not a gerund. Challenging is not a gerund. Challenging is an adjective for activity. So it is a present participle. Next, I enjoy my grandma's down home cooking. Cooking is the activity, so it's a noun. It is naming an activity, an action. And down home is an adjective. Okay? Here you see this difference. The gerund, sewing, is Beth's favorite pastime. Gerund functioning as a subject. But if I say Beth's favorite pastime is sewing, then the gerund is functioning as a predicate nominative. Anyway, it is a noun. But in these two cases, we have a present participle. A present participle in a verb phrase. I am sewing, I am speaking, I am explaining, I am sewing this hem. You see, it is part of a verb phrase and they always function uh, as the main verb of the verb phrase. In the second, this reading the verbal phrase must be here. Okay. Participle has an adjective. Sewing a button on her shirt. Beth pricked her finger. Sewing a button on her shirt is a participle phrase that is functioning as an adjective. This participle phrase is not a gerund phrase because a gerund phrase is a noun phrase. Remember this. Gerunds are nouns and present participles are part of a verb or adjectives. Some other examples. Putting the risk of COVID-19 in perspective. This is a noun. Putting the risk of COVID-19 in perspective. Okay. Is the risk of dying from COVID-19 comparable to driving to work every day, skydiving, or being a soldier in a war? Okay, the risk of dying here is the object of a preposition, the preposition of. Comparable to driving to work activity. Driving to work every day, driving to work every day is a gerund phrase. Skydiving, gerund or gerund phrase. Or being a soldier in a war, gerund phrase also. You see, none of them have a head of a preposition here, nor they are part of a verb phrase, nor they are adjectives. They are gerund. All of them are gerund and gerund phrases. Gerund phrases. Let's see another example. Climbing the mountain in the morning was really challenging. Okay, climbing the mountain. What is it for you? It is a noun. Climbing the mountain. We had it here. Climbing the mountain. In the morning, morning ends in ing, but you know it is a noun and it has nothing to do with a verb. It's not a verbal. Okay. Was really challenging. Challenging. It is a participle. It's not a noun. My children enjoy hiking in the mountains. hiking in the mountains is an activity. So hiking in the mountains is a gerund phrase that is acting as the object of the preposition enjoy. Next, driving to work is not as risky as getting infected by COVID-19. Driving to work, an activity, and getting infected by COVID-19, another thing, another activity. They are noun phrases. They are gerund phrases acting as nouns. Yeah. Okay. The second here in this series of three, skydiving is much more risky than getting infected by COVID-19. Skydiving is a noun. Skydiving. Next, the most dreadful experience is being a soldier in a war. Being a soldier is also uh, a noun phrase, and here it is working as a predicate nominative. And you can invert it and say, being a soldier in a war is the most dreadful experience. And it can become a subject, and the other can become the predicate nominative. All right? In the other cases, this is the subject, this is the subject. Okay? Now the exercises, as always, I present the first one for you. Here, they're asking you to identify the way each one of the gerund and gerund phrases are used. We have subject, direct object, indirect object, object of a preposition, predicate, nominative, etc. So here in the first one, I have seeing all her grandchildren gave Nana great pleasure. Seeing all her grandchildren. This is a gerund phrase and is a subject. That's the action that is acting uh, as the subject of the sentence. Gave is the verb, and Nana is the indirect object, and great pleasure is the direct object. Seeing all her grandchildren gave great pleasure to Nana. You can change it. You see that Nana is an indirect object. Thank you for watching and complete all these exercises. Then I'm going to be sending you the responses for you to contrast your thoughts to the answers provided. Thank you again.